Hello everyone, and welcome to the lecture on errors and exception handling. In this lecture we'll look at try, except, and else statements. The general format for try, except, and else is as follows. We have our try, and then statements go here. And then we have our except statement, and then if there is any kind of exception, in case of exceptions, this will be executed. And then finally we have our else statement. And then in case there is no exception, this will be executed. So if our try statement doesn't raise any kind of exception, the statement in the else block will be executed. Let's look at an example. Let's prompt a user to enter a number. So we can say try, and then we have our raw input. We'll use the raw input function. For Python 3 you can use the input function. Enter a number, and we'll convert this into an integer, and let's save this in a variable called number, num. And then there is an exception for key value error, except value error. We can say print you can only enter a number or integer or something like that. And if there is no exception, we'll run the else statement. So else colon, and then in the new line we'll say print the number you entered is, let's use some formatting, that format, then we'll pass num. So let's run our statement, enter a number, let's say 8. Since there is no exception, the number you entered 8 is printed, which is in the else block. Let's run it again, enter a number, let's say you can only enter a number. So this is how we can use the else statement. It comes at the end after all the except statements. Next, let's look at another example. What we'll do is we'll try to open a file in the read mode, and we'll try to write some data or some text into our file. Let me show you what I mean. There is a function known as open, which will allow us to open a file. Then we'll pass some file. Let's say file name. So this doesn't exist, file name, and then we can pass a mode, so read mode in this case. So this means open a file, and then the mode is read. There are various kinds of modes. One is a read mode, and let's save this in a variable called, let's say, file x. Now what we'll do is, while the file is open and it's in read mode, next we'll try to write into this file by using a function known as write. So we have our file x object, and then we'll call the write method on it, and this line will be added to the file name file. Okay, we'll learn more about opening and reading and writing to files in a later section. There will be a file section entirely dedicated to files, but I just wanted to show you a try and except example with files. So if we run this, what do you think will happen? If we run this, we'll get an error. That's because we are trying to write a file while it's in read mode. So once we open this file, we are opening it in a read mode. So we are only allowed to read that file. And basically this will throw out an error. So if we run this, we get no such file or directory called file name, because this file doesn't exist. Now I'll show you how we can handle this by using try, except, and else. So we can say, I'll copy this, Command C. Let's include that in a try block. So we'll paste it. So try to open a file in a read mode and try to write to it. And then we'll include an except statement. Except, you see this kind of error, IO error. Except IO error. This part is optional. I know it's a IO kind of error, so I'll just say IO error, and then we can print file cannot be found. We can say that, and let's include our else statement. Else, that means if the try statement doesn't raise any exception, the else statement will be executed. The else block will be executed. Else, we can say print text is now added to the file. We can say that. So this will throw an error, and in this case, since there will be an exception, this statement will be printed. File cannot be found. Let's run it. So file cannot be found. That's because this file name doesn't exist. And we have a read mode here. Now let me copy this and show you in a write mode. Let's paste this. And then I'll change this to write mode. So one thing about a write mode is that even if this file name doesn't exist, it will create this file name for us. And once it creates this file name, we'll be able to write this statement in our file. So when we run the statement, there won't be any exception, in which case the else block will be executed. And when we run our program, this statement will be printed. Text is now added to the file. Let's run it. See here, text is now added to the file. So this is how we can use the else statement in conjunction with try and except. And the else block of statement is executed only if the try statement doesn't raise any kind of error or exception. And if there is any error, our except statement will be executed. Great. Thank you everyone, and I'll see you at the next lecture.